is another issue that shows you the contrast between Republicans and Democrats. That is the issue of net neutrality. All across the world today, you're going to have supporters of net neutrality organizing themselves on social media, also on various websites. Amazon, their supporting was billed as a day of action. In the campaign supported by the crowdfunding website Kickstarter, among others, many websites will display warnings of blocked websites, slow internet speeds, restricted service, and extra service charges. Internet advocates who want to keep the rules say if they are repealed, big cable companies will allow censorship and will have control over what people can see and do online. They're hoping this campaign will get people to send letters to Congress and the FCC supporting net neutrality. Now, cable companies, they say, look, they should be able to regulate their speeds and also provide opportunities for folks. They said that cable should not, broadband should not be regulated like a utility. So let's talk about this right now, folks, with someone who is very much involved with this. And keep in mind, Republicans are very much against more regulation. The Obama administration was supportive of net neutrality. Trump administration against. Joining us right now is Evan Greer, director of Fight for the Future, a digital rights group that is helping coordinate the effort. So, Evan, again, the contrast here. The Obama administration was very supportive of net neutrality. FCC had 3-2 Democrats. Tom Wheeler was the chair. He said we should move forward with this. We should be regulating this and allowing it to be open. That means unfettered, no fast lanes, slow lanes. Trump administration, he wins. Now a complete reversal of that particular policy. How do you combat where you have Republicans controlling the House and the Senate and the White House, and now the FCC? How do you stop this from actually being overturned?
So here's the interesting thing here, Roland. While the Trump administration and certainly his FCC chairman have sort of made themselves the avowed enemies of internet freedom by attacking these net neutrality protections, Republican voters are actually overwhelmingly in support of these rules. No one, regardless of their other political views, wants their cable company, the Comcast, Verizons, and AT&Ts of the world, to have control over what we can see and do on the internet. So that's actually where we have some real power here, and where we struggle on some other issue areas. The Trump administration knows that their base are actually largely aligned with the rest of the internet on this one. And that's why we have this day of action today. This is not a partisan issue. It's a technological issue. Net neutrality is a guiding principle that's made the internet into the great place that it is today. And so this is a moment when the entire internet is coming together to show that this isn't about politics and political football in Washington, D.C. This is about this technology that's given more of us a voice than ever before, and defending it for future generations.
I've covered this issue for years, spoken at various conferences and workshops on this, and the basic premise here for folks like yourself is that regardless of the size of your company, there should be simply one speed. It doesn't matter if you're a small company, if you're worth several $1 billion, you should not sort of have a different avenue, access, or entry ramp onto the internet. Then you have big business companies that are saying absolutely not. There should be no regulations placed on us. That's really what you're up against, this whole idea of regulation versus no regulation.
You know, and it's interesting because the term regulation sort of is getting used by opponents of net neutrality as a buzzword to kind of trigger, to essentially try to fool conservatives into thinking that this is something that they don't like. But when they say that this is quote unquote regulation of the internet, they're conflating the internet with the behavior of companies like Comcast, Verizon, and AT&T. There's nothing about net neutrality that gives the government control over what you can see and do online. In fact, it's just the opposite. Net neutrality rules prevent censorship, blocking, throttling, and prevent your cable company from charging you extra fees just to access the content that you're used to. Imagine going to a social media site and seeing a pop-up from your internet service provider saying, sorry, this isn't included in your package. You need to pay us $10.99 to get our social media package if you want to access this site. No one wants to see that. That hurts all of us, especially those low-income folks and others who are already struggling to cover their monthly internet bill. And it has a profound effect on freedom of speech and freedom of expression as well.
So, Evan, has the FCC officially reversed the position of the Obama administration? Have they voted? So what is your next target? Is it Congress? Is it trying to get Congress to overturn the FCC's decision?
So the FCC has not voted on this yet. They have begun the process of repealing these protections that millions of people from across the political spectrum fought for in 2014 and 2015. But the reason we're organizing our day of protest today is that it's 5 days before the initial comment deadline. So there's still 5 days for people to make their voices heard, give the FCC some feedback. You can easily submit a comment to them through our site, battleforthenet.com, or go and figure out another way to do it yourself. But this is an issue where this agency for far too long has listened pretty much only to lobbyists from these big telecom companies. Now it's time for them to listen to us. And it's really up to all of us to make our voices heard on this issue that affects all of us.
All right, Evan Greer, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot. I want to go to our panel real quick. Here's the reality. That is, we're now living in a world where the internet is very much like water, electricity, phone service. That's right. And there's been this whole battle. Do you regulate it like a utility, or do you say, oh, no, it's not a utility? And one of the other things that for folks who believe in net neutrality, they say that, look, if you are a startup black company or whatever, and then you want to have a video service, you want to be able to get your content out there and people be able to access it and not say, well, no, it's a slower tier. This still goes back and forth between conservative principles, progressive principles, Republican, Democrat. You might have a lot of Republicans who believe in this concept, but I still believe it's going to come down to Republican versus Democrat.
It could. I mean, but when you see the titans lined up in favor of net neutrality, Amazon, Hulu, Google, they're saying our consumers are the ones who provide the content. The uploading is key. They don't want to lose out. They see the future, and I think that's where we have.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of conservatives that says that let the market dictate the prices. You don't want the FCC to be regulating rates, and that's going to actually cause smaller MBEs or smaller, minority-owned organizations from not being able to enter into the market at all.
How?
Because when you enter those regulation rates in there and you dictate how much it is, you already have a system of taxes that applies a higher rate to telecommunications than any other business. So a lot of people won't have the private capital to enter into the market. They won't be able to access the funds where you already have these players who are already there.
Spencer?
I think this is going to be a long battle. Whatever happens at the FCC, I think is going to end up in Congress.
No, well, absolutely. Again, and look, Congress has before overturned actions by the FCC, so it's not like that's unprecedented.
And you think Republican, Democrat. It's going to break down in Congress that way.
There we go.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh, my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't going to cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.